Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. I have given basically literally hundreds of lectures, both in college and also conferences that I organize or co-organize, critical thinkers for Islamic reform around the world. But first time I'll be using the PowerPoint. I always avoided. I thought it will create a cage for me. Now I'm reluctant whether I use it or not. Let me put it, in case it will work, I will do. Where is the hope for this one? Okay, can someone help me? Now, we have board here, we have old-fashioned chalk, fantastic. And if it doesn't work, then... Yes. Maybe my assistant here, where is the... Okay, and then I push this one. Okay, Peacemakers Constitution. I am not only academics, also I am the guy on the street. Daily I communicate with literally hundreds of people, sometimes 10 hours a day, responding almost every letter religiously. And my wife is here, and she is the #1 complaining of this. She doesn't participate in my lectures. First time she has been here after 20 years. Initially she did it, but later said, I know what you are talking about, I don't need to be there. But my son is a student here, Metin, and for that occasion, my son first time will be in my lecture, and my wife. This is for me the opening of a paradigm, and for many people around the world, and some of them directly or indirectly affected by the mathematical code of the Quran, which has been main target of attack by so-called Muslim scholars who have, together with Lays Salih al-Shaybani in Saudi Arabia, he couldn't participate, and Martha Shulti Nafe, she's an Arabic professor in Texas, Austin, and this is, I wrote some volumes of it. Anyone wants it? I think I have about 30 of them. I would like to give you to study this because it is very different than traditional translations. Why it is different? Because it doesn't rely on Hadith and Sunnah and Sirah or Islam and Nuzul, all those volumes of literature created in order to divert, to distort the message of the Quran, which is rational, liberating, for women's rights, for justice, for human rights. That's the one that created civilization, early civilization of Islam, despite the backward regressive movement that went parallel and then finally declared victory in 1 millennium with Ghazali's basically banning philosophy. And this is a manifesto for Islamic reform. This is a challenge for everyone who claims that Quran is not enough, God could not explain the Quran, and the Quran needs stories, narrations that were not preserved, that were gathered 200, 500 centuries after Prophet Muhammad. This is a challenge for them because you will see a comprehensive, detailed table. It is comparing the teaching of Hadith and Sunnah versus the Quran. And Critical Thinkers for Islamic Reform, this was our first conference report, basically papers submitted in our first conference together with Professor Abdullah Naim. We organized that one, and later at Oxford University. We didn't publish that one somehow yet, and in Kazakhstan and several other places we have this one. And here is my friend, those specially studying in Princeton. You write papers. I met the professor Shukri Hanioğlu. Where is he? He's not here. He's the head of the department here. I told him, I said, you guys, you write paper, you spend a lot of hours going through the library, and long list, 1 meter list of footnotes. Who reads that paper? What happens to that paper? Your friend over there, perhaps. He browses it. That's it. I don't undermine the work of you guys. the academics, I'm talking to us. But when the Muslim world is burning, when the imams are the one, muezzins or wa'is, those people who are the one connecting people, motivating, moving them, their daily lives, then we write all these things, what happens when the house is burning. Therefore, we should be academics at the same time activists. Otherwise, what are we doing for God's sake? Okay. Therefore, it is important that scholars to address the issues and connect with people. What's going on? How can we change it? There is a malady, affliction of disease all around the Muslim world. I traveled all around, there's something going on. Either we become extinct like dinosaurs, or there will be a major transformation. Okay, the origin of sectarian teachings. After the Quran, it says Tawheed, unity. The source of religion, God's religion, is only God. مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاء. Not God plus Muhammad. Not God plus Jesus or Moses, or their friend, or plus their parents. But after Muhammad, after centuries later, God plus Muhammad, it is a holy corporation. Muhammad's companions plus companions of Muhammad's companions, plus early scholars and later scholars, and today it is basically a religion concocted, made up by holy corporations. Hadith, the prophecy of the Quran, the language of the Quran, rejects hadith. Any word, the word hadith means word. When it is used other than the Quran, it is always negative. Pay attention. Always negative. Hadith and yuftara, God calls it. Made up, fabricated hadith. فَبِأَيِّ حَدِيثٍ بَعْدَ اللَّهِ وَآيَاتِهِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Which hadith besides God and His signs do they believe? Many. And the Quran is called Ahsan al-Hadith, the best hadith, the best word. And the word sunnah, never in the Quran the word sunnah is used for Muhammad's sunnah. Always in the Quran, sunnatullah, 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 God's law. God's law in societies and nature. وَلَنْ تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You will not find in God's law any change. But somehow, despite the Quran, they use the word sunnah for the laws fabricated in the name of Muhammad. And the same with the ijma. This is a prophecy of the Quran. Whenever used for other than God, it is negative. فَجَمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ. Very interesting. The God is Jami. Anyway, I don't want to go over this, but I want to have titles. Okay. Here it is. How is Hadith narrated? 230 years after Prophet Muhammad, Bukhari goes, meets people. According to his own claim in the beginning of his book, he says he gathered 600,000 hadiths, but he eliminated more than 98% of it. He ended up with 7,000 hadiths. 600,000. Do math. You live in a time where computer is almost in every house. Do math. 600,000 hadiths. 2 hadiths in 1 page with the list of narrators plus the text. 2 hadiths in 1 page, how many thousand books you will have. He gathered those. And for 1 hadith, according to him, he travels 1 month. Calculate the amount of time this guy. He needs several hundred centuries, several hundred years to live in order just to gather those hadiths. Okay, why hadiths were fabricated? Hadiths were fabricated to support the teaching of a particular sect against another. Like many hadiths about abortion. The Quran, God's mufassal, detailed book, says here is abortion. No, God forgot. وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Your Lord is not forgetful. No, they said. God forgot. God is not the best word. God doesn't have enough words. Here are scholars. Said this. These are steps of evolution. They created whole. You will have a pamphlet about how to take ablution. How to clean your nose, how the ears, and how many times, what to read, all those things. God forgot. And they of course, since they fabricated, they contradicted each other. Very sad. Even what nullifies the evolution, even that one thing. Anyway, to flatter or justify the authority and practice a particular of a particular king against dissident, such as about Mahdi and Dajjal. Hundreds of hadiths about Mahdi and Dajjal, Christ, Messiah of Muslims, and Antichrist. Interestingly, when you look critically, it was 5 minutes? Goodness sake. And, well, I have to pass this one. You will find out one Mahdi comes in Sham, the other is in where? In Baghdad, in Kufa. Well, it depends on the time of fabrication of the hadith. If the king, the Umayyad king, Mahdi comes in Sham, from Damascus. Otherwise comes from Kufa and Basra. Anyway, to promote interests of particular tribe, like the language of people in heaven will be Arabic. Or to put down women and or to justify sexual abuse or marrying little girls. Well, the age of Aisha was a good thing to make her much younger than she was. Or to justify violence, like Beni Qurayza, they were killed, massacred, men and women, boys and girls, 400 of them. This big lie. The Quran never mentions such a thing. The Quran mentions all the events at that time, but doesn't have any reference to justification of them. And when we look at the stories, we find out these stories existed even before Islam. It's exactly a similar story. They copied. Who did that? It is another long argument. More rituals to validate superstitions like black stone. Today's, if you are an objective person, these Muslims worship 2 black stones. One is big, huge cube, the other is there, it is, but it is entirely the meaning of Hajj, which means debate, a conference, absolutely transformed to something silly ritual, rotating around a big rock wall. This was not like that, covered with silk, and the other one, and they fabricate stories about. To prohibit certain things and actions, like drawing and music. They kill even people who play music. And like jizya, to create another source of money, income. The word jizya is distorted. Anyway, this is long. I want to pass this one. Even to advertise products like ajwa. A guy find out hadith. If you fabricate hadith, it is forever people who follow as a religion. While ajwa firma is cure for these diseases. And great advertisement. Now, federal secular constitution, Quranic foundation. The Islam was not, as some Christians claim, and some ignorant so-called Muslims follow that claim. It is not, how do we say, when it was accepted around the world by sword. It was by mind and heart of the people. In the old time, there was no big difference in the technology of weapons. Muslims did not have much longer swords or the number of people. Their camels were not better than the others' camels and horses. It was not. It was the message of Islam. It was accepted by people, and they were able to go in a very short time to Malaysia and Philippines. It is one of the biggest lies that Islam was spread by sword. And here it is, a 5 principles of Islam based on the Quran, not those lies. You can find the most emphasis on this one. This should be the 5 pillars of Islam if you want to make it 5 or make it 10. Is use your mind. أَفَلَا تَفَكَّرُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ إِنَّ اللَّهُ يَجْعَلُهُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. God afflict those people who do not reason with problems. Seek freedom. La ilaha illallah is the ultimate formula for freedom. There is no God, no authority, only God. No pope, no mullah, no this alim, that alim. You are a free man equal to me, equal to prophet. Between you and God, there is no intercessor. This is ultimate freedom. And God's attributes, one of the most repeated attributes is al-haq, the truth. Care about others and stand for justice. That is very important in the Quran. Emphasize. Be a peacemaker. Islam means to make peace with yourself, with your creator, with people. But even the meaning of that changed. Be appreciative. I have verses here, I don't know whether I think for yourself, and I want you to just brush them, question and think for yourself. I just emphasize some verses of the Quran that the basis for this constitution. Be free, seek and serve the truth. Do not accept each other as Lord beside him. Give me 2 more minutes, please. And this is the first coins, early coins. You don't see early coins, these are archaeological evidence. Lawrence Rosen. Pay attention to this one. This is archaeological evidence. Okay. Why this is, I don't see here. Okay, here. Okay, this is the name of God only mentioned in the early coins. La ilaha illallah, God is only one. There is no Muhammad's name. This is about 710. But later you see Muhammad's name in the margin. This is La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. And then later the name of Muhammad in the back of the coin, one side Allah, the other. And then the fourth generation next to each other. Gradual time to make unity, one God, 2, and then of course other mullahs and scholars added to that one. Okay, I want to stop there because I didn't time it well, of course. Hopefully during the question session I will be talking about some part of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
the
you.
screen is not visible here.
We will now go to Joshua Rosen, and after that our discussant will make his comments on the papers, and then we will do the question and answer. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joshua.
I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to be here today. Very exciting to be around the critical mass of scholars looking at these areas. The paper is very much a work in progress, so I do welcome feedback during questions or afterwards. I'd just like to start by taking you back 10 years. In the shadows of 9/11, which affected Muslim communities throughout the world, and the immediate aftermath of the Iraq invasion, Professor Tariq Ramadan, one of the leading and most controversial Western Muslim intellectuals, wrote arguably his most defining work, Western Muslims and the Future of Islam. In this work, Ramadan seeks to synthesize a global and coherent vision of Islamic principles, juridical instruments and the means of employment, and to concentrate on practical application of these reflections in Western society. He sets out fiercely a proposition that Western Muslims must be intellectually, culturally, and politically and financially independent, and argues that by acquiring the conviction that they can be faithful to their principles while being totally involved in the life of their society, Muslims will find the means to confront and resolve the challenges they face. In effect, he sets out a political and economic project for Western Muslims, calling upon Muslims to contribute to the state for the betterment of Muslims and non-Muslims. And I'll just read a couple of quotes. He argues that American and European Muslims have an urgent need today to develop economic structures within the Western landscape. They need to create enterprises, businesses, insurance and other companies that will make it possible for them to live and develop in their respective societies. And further, it is precisely when we confront these problems that we understand how much we still need the creativity of Muslim economists, entrepreneurs, managers, business leaders and association leaders. That serves as a useful introduction to the study of Sharia and citizenship in practice in any Western context. So this talk is about Sharia and citizenship in practice in the cities of Sydney and New York. Its primary aim is to explore the dimensions of the interaction of Sharia as practiced previously with the secular, legal and primarily for this talk, economic systems in these 2 cities. Does Ramadan's politically charged conception of Muslim citizenship have any relevance in the current climate? If so, why or why not? So basically I'll follow this outline for time. I won't go through everything. slide. There are very few in-depth ethnographic studies of Sharia in Western contexts. Some notable recent works, such as Jordan McFarlane's recent book, are good examples of what is possible. This study does look at family law, it looks at inheritance, it looks at Islamic marriage and divorce, child custody issues, dispute and alternate dispute resolution. However, I really identified something I consider to be a very exciting direction in looking at Sharia and how it actually influences and shapes citizenship in Western contexts. So I'll just start by going a little bit about political discourse on Sharia in Australia and the United States. I find when I come to the United States that there's not a lot of knowledge about the impact. I'll give you a quick backdrop. Australia has 500,000 Muslims compared to the 6 to 8 million in the US. It's still a significant community and culturally speaking, incredibly diverse. So when I talk to this, I talk to the fact that Islam is a quite prominent political issue and so on. So the debate about Sharia and legal pluralism in Australia and the United States is a relatively recent phenomenon. It's clear that Western secular nations are facing a variety of challenges in coming to terms with the presence of large and growing Muslim populations seeking to live with reference to the principles of their faith. It's in this context both Australia and the United States have seen the emergence of anti-Muslim activists that have sought to influence political discourse, and I would argue have really shifted the debate onto extreme ground. Such incursions have the impact of pulling debate to the right, and scholars and activists from Muslim communities and people who've got any awareness of the issues feel obliged to respond on these terms. Unfortunately, backed by academic problematisation of Muslims and works on the Muslim question and so on, it has contributed to a delimiting downward spiral of intellectual engagement with the positive possibilities of critical introspection and engagement with Islam. So in the Australian context, anti-Sharia rhetoric has been utilised for political gain. It's become a particularly big issue over the last couple of years. Legal pluralism in particular has been resoundingly rejected by politicians and former members of the judiciary. It's clear that the level of national political discourse that governments from both sides of politics have sought to use the concept of Australian values as a blunt instrument to reject Sharia and legal pluralism and to gain political capital. Any attempt at dialogue, irrespective of its base in knowledge and scholarship, has been immediately shut down by the government, with those proposing castigated in the media and being reminded of the conditional nature of their citizenship. I'm going to assume for the purpose of this talk that you're all familiar with the US context on Sharia, so I won't go into too much detail. The anti-Sharia legislation has obviously been promoted in 30 states and as of August 13 adopted in 7, if I'm correct, including most recently North Carolina, through referring to international law rather than specifically Sharia law. These laws are being driven by anti-Muslim activists and supported by primarily local Republican politicians, irrespective of the very small percentage of Muslims in these states. So what I really wanted to emphasise is this is a worldwide issue. It's not something that's just happening in the US, it's happening in the UK, the debate. There's One Law for All, an organisation over there really driving it. It's happening in Australia, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in New Zealand, it happens around the Western world. Except in one area. And I call this the paradoxical case of Islamic finance. Australia and the United States have viewed Islamic finance in a much more positive light at the level of government and business. Media analysis reveals that while legal pluralism and cultural variations of Sharia, including punishments, are viewed extremely negatively, Islamic finance has been viewed far more favourably, and in the Australian case, pursued vigorously. Discourse surrounding Sharia and Muslim citizenship and belonging is thus riddled with contradictions and inconsistencies. It reveals the incredibly complex social terrain occupied by Muslims that has emerged that Sharia is indeed acceptable and even considered good for society when it involves opportunities for wealth creation. So in Australia, Sharia-compliant products not only have a strong presence worldwide, but in the now legal free market in Australia. Worldwide, I believe it's worth over $1.2 billion in
What is Islam? What are the sources of Islam? What are the sources of Islam? What is Islam?
Burada sen ifşa oldun.
Nereye?
Gidiyorum.